Good morning, students. Yes, say your prayer. Thank you. நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வி போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வி போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் இருந்து முறையாக அன்போடு கல்வி போதிப்பேன். Okay, students, take your social science book. Thank you. Come to page number 189. So today we will move to civics. So fourth unit in civics. So human rights and UNO. So in last class we discussed about industries. So geography, industries. So the definition for industry and some economic activities, and also we discussed about how industries are classified and also the factors so needed for the establishment of an industry. Then finally we discussed about the types of industry. So today we will move to civics. So in civics already we have discussed in third unit, we discussed about secularism. So secularism means so treating all religion equally. So if the state or the government treats all the religion equally, or if there is no official religion for the state means, then it is called as secularism. So India is a secularist country. So we have discussed secularism in civics. So third unit in civics. So today we will move to fourth unit. So human rights and UNO. So what is meant by human rights? So we are human beings. So we have certain rights. So human rights means one of the basic rights that everyone has to be treated fairly and not in a cruel way, especially by their government. So human rights means the basic rights. So that everyone has to be treated fairly and equally. So human right is the basic rights that every individual should be treated fairly. So treated in a good way and not in a cruel way. So especially by the government. So the government of a particular country should treat their citizens in equal way and treat them properly. So that is called as human right. So in today's class we will discuss about the human rights. So the various human rights and also the role of UNO. So United Nations Organization. So the role of United Nations Organization in bringing up the human rights. Okay, va? So what are you going to learn from this lesson? So learning objectives. So first understand what human rights are. So what is meant by human rights? So what are human rights? Then understand the relationship between rights and responsibilities. So we have some responsibility. So whenever you have a right, we have some duties. We have some responsibility. So understand the relationship between rights and responsibilities. Then know the importance of human rights. So how much the human rights are important. You will learn about it. Then understand that human rights belong to everybody. So human rights is not for a single person or not for a group of person or not for a particular community or particular country. So it is applicable to all the people. So understand that human rights belong to everybody. Then appreciate the meaning and significance of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in the year 1948. So in the year 1948, United Nations Organization so conducted conference, so in which the Universal Declaration of Human Rights are signed. So you will understand about the meaning and significance of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights held in 1948. So learning objectives. So first understand what human rights are. Then understand the relationship between rights and responsibilities. Then know the importance of human rights. Then understand that human rights belong to everybody. Then appreciate the meaning and significance of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, so held in the year 1948. So introduction. So everybody is born equal. So everyone has born equal. So each individual in the world has the right to lead a dignified. So dignified means to make important. So everybody in this world has the right to lead a life of his or her own choice. So every individual in this world has the right to lead a decent life of his own choice, for his or her own choice. So human rights are related to individuals and society. So human rights denote all those rights that are inherent. So inherent means that are basic part of somebody and that cannot be removed. So human rights denotes all those rights that are inherent, so that are basic, and ensure that we live as free people and access our choice. So human rights denotes all those rights that are basic and make sure that we live as free people. So we are not slave to anyone. So we are free. and we can exercise our choices. So the state, that is the government role, is to ensure that the people have equal rights. So the government role is to make sure that people, so the citizens of the country have equal rights. So everybody is born equal. So each individual, so each person in this world has the right to lead a dignified life. So the right to have a life of their own choice. So human rights are related to individuals and society. So human rights, so not for a particular person. It is for not only for a particular person, it is for the society also. So human rights are related to both individuals and also the society, so and the community. So human rights denotes all those rights that are basic and make sure that we live as a free people and we can exercise. So we can exercise our choices. So the state's role is to ensure that the people have equal rights. So first, what are human rights? So the human rights are the rights that are inherent. So inherent means, so already we have seen, so the basic part of somebody, so the basic part of something. So the human rights are rights inherent to all human beings. So it is the basic part of all human beings. So regardless of race, sex, nationality, ethnicity. So ethnicity means, say a particular belonging to a particular race, language and religion. So human rights are the rights, so which is common to all the human beings. So regardless of race. So he may be any race. So he may be a Aryan or he may be a Dravidan or any race. But it is the human rights is applicable to him also. Then sex. So he may be a male or she may be a female. So male or female. Or nationality. So he may be an Indian. He may be from Pakistan. He may be from Russia. So nationality, it is not important. Ethnicity, so particular race. Language, so he may speak Tamil, he may speak English, or he may speak Urdu, so any other language. And religion, so he may be a Hindu, or he may be a Muslim, or he may be Christian. So that is not a matter. But the human rights, so it is inherent to all the human beings. So human rights include, so free from slavery and torture. So human rights means, so not only so enjoying our freedom. So it means freedom from slavery and torture, freedom of opinion and expression. So freedom of opinion and express your thoughts. Then fair trial. So trial means inquiry. Then the right to life, work and education. So human rights includes freedom from slavery and torture, freedom of opinion and expression, and fair trial, and the right to life, work and education. So human rights, so the rights inherent to all the human beings. So next, where do these human rights come from? So actually, a set of basic rights and freedom has deep roots in European and American countries, so which we will discuss now. So the set of basic rights and freedom, so has its deep root in European and American countries, especially in France and England. So from England in the year 1215 AD itself, so the basic rights are given to the citizens. So how it starts? So we will discuss as, so written precursors of human rights, then so the birth of United Nations. So before the United Nations, so there are several laws so passed in the American and European countries which gave certain rights to their people. So nowadays, so by using that rights and act as the model, several countries has passed the laws. Then finally, then after the establishment of United Nations organizations, so several human rights organizations came into effect. Then so the United Nations organization also had conducted a conference in which the Universal Declaration of Human Rights are declared. We will discuss that also. So first we will discuss about the written precursors of human rights documents. So before the establishment of United Nations organization. So in the written precursors, so precursors means a person or thing that comes before or somebody or something similar and that leads to or influences development. So precursor, written precursor means, so the human rights, so that comes before. So nowadays there are several acts, so that protect our right. But before passing this act, so some of the act which was passed so many years before, so they influence its development. So we will discuss about that only. So first, the Magna Carta of 1215 AD. So in the year 1215, so in England, so the king was forced to give certain rights to the people. Yeah, so that is called as the Magna Carta of 1215. Yeah. So this gave the people new rights and made the king subject to the law. So the Magna Carta of 1215, so which was so passed in the year 1215 AD in England. So that so gave the people new rights and made the king. So the king is also subject to the law. So the king was also under the law. So this was declared by the Magna Carta of 1215 AD in England. Then the Petition of Right 1628 AD, it was also passed in England. So this act, this right set out the rights of the people. So the Magna Carta of 1215 AD gave people some new rights and made the king subject to the law. Then the Petition of the Right 1628 AD, so set out the rights of the people. So this act, this right list out the rights, so should be given to the people. Then the Habeas Corpus Act of 1679. So habeas corpus, so literally it means to bring the person. So if the person is illegally arrested means, so they have to be present before the court. So they have to be submitted before the court. So Habeas Corpus Act of 1679 in England, an act for the better securing liberty. So that is freedom of the subject. So an act for the better freedom. So better securing. So better securing. So make sure. So the freedom of the person, freedom of the individual. Then the English Bill of Rights of 1689, so set out certain basic civil rights. So the English Bill of Rights of 1689, so set out some basic civil rights. Then the French Declaration on the Rights of Man and Citizen 1789. So a document of France, so stating that all the citizens are equal under the law. So the French Declaration on the Rights of Man and Citizen, so which was passed in the year 1718. So in the year 1789, so French Revolution broke out. So you will learn about French Revolution in your 9th standard. So this was a document from France, so states that all the citizens are equal under the law. So all the citizens are equal under the law. So no one is above or below the law. So all are equal before the law. Then the US Constitution and Bill of Rights 1791. So it safeguards the rights of the citizens. So the US Constitution and the Bill of Rights passed in the year 1791. So US, so they had their constitution which was passed in 1791. So it safeguards, so it protects the rights of the citizens. So these are the written precursors of the human rights documents. So first the Magna Carta of 1215, then the Petition of Right 1628, then Habeas Corpus Act of 1679, then English Bill of Rights of 1689. So this act were passed in England. Then in the French, so the French Declaration on the Rights of Man and Citizen passed in 1789. Then in US, so the US Constitution and Bill of Rights in 1791. So these are the some written precursors of human rights. Then the birth of United Nations. So the idea of human rights emerged stronger after the Second World War. So the idea of the opinion of human rights emerged stronger after the Second World War. So the Second World War, so fought between 1939 to 1945. So in that war, a lot of atrocities. So many people were killed. So it was a great important event. So this war led to the unimaginable violation of human rights. So the Second World War, so led to the unimaginable. So you can't imagine. So the violation of human rights. So during the time of the World War, so human lives lost its value, and those affected by war had to struggle till the end of their life. So during the time of the war, so human lives, so the human lives, so lost its importance. And the persons, so who were affected by the war, had to struggle till the death. So atrocities. So atrocities means so cruel and violent act. So the violent act during the Second World War made clear that the previous effort to protect the individual rights from government violations were inadequate. So the atrocities during the Second World War, so made clear. So the previous effort, so in order to protect a person's right from the government is not enough. Yeah. So the rights of man were prevented or eliminated in several parts of the world due to several factors. So the rights of the individuals were prevented or sometimes eliminated in several parts of the world due to several factors. Yeah. It is provided that the government of some countries alone could not protect human rights. Yes, it is proved now that the government of some countries alone could not protect the human rights. Yeah. So the most important event in the world is the Second World War. Yeah, so the idea of human rights emerged stronger after the Second World War. So this war led to the unimaginable violation of human rights. Yeah, so this war made clear that the previous effort to protect the individual rights from the government violations were not enough. Yeah, so in order to protect the human rights, so the United Nations organization was established. So the people wanted to make sure that never again would anyone be unjustly denied life, freedom, food, shelter, and nationality. So people wanted to ensure that never again would anyone be unjustly denied. So anyone should be unjustly denied life, freedom, food, shelter, and nationality. So these voices played a critical role in the San Francisco meeting in which the United Nations Charter was drafted in 1945. So people wanted to make sure that everyone should be given life. So should not be denied. So denied means not given. So unjustly not given. So everyone should be given life, freedom, food, shelter, and nationality. So people wanted to make sure so that everyone should be make sure. So given life, freedom, food, shelter, and nationality. So these voices played a critical role in the San Francisco. So San Francisco, which is in America, United States of America. So it was a place which was in western part of America. Okay, wow. So San Francisco meeting in which United Nations Charter. So charter means nothing but official statement or official agreement. It was drafted in 1945. At this juncture, an international body, the United Nations Organization (UNO), was established on 24th October 1945. So took up the issue. So human rights is an important theme in all UN policies and program in the areas of peace and security, development, humanitarian. So humanitarian means giving importance to human beings, so humanitarian assistance and economic and social affairs. So the voice of the people, so who support the freedom and nationality, so food, shelter, so played a critical role in the San Francisco conference, so which held in San Francisco. So that drafted the United Nations Charter in 1945. So after this only, United Nations Organization was established on 24th October 1945. So they gave importance to human rights. So human rights is an important theme in all United Nations policies and programs. So in the areas like peace and security, development, humanitarian assistance, and economic and social affairs. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So one of the greatest achievement of United Nations is the creation of human rights law. So one of the greatest achievement. So United Nations established in 24th October 1945 to protect the human rights. So the greatest achievement of the United Nations is the creation of human rights law. So to advance this goal, the UN established a commission on human rights. So in order to achieve the human rights, so they established a commission on human rights. So the commission was guided by Eleanor Roosevelt. So who was Eleanor Roosevelt? So she was the wife of former US President Franklin D. Roosevelt. So United Nations established a commission on human rights. So the commission was guided by Eleanor Roosevelt. So forceful leadership captured the world's attention. So she was a forceful leader. So who attended the world attention? Who captured the world attention. So finally, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted by the UN General Assembly in 1948. It is a milestone document in the history of human rights. So United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a milestone, an important document in the history of human rights. The declaration was proclaimed by the UN General Assembly in Paris, which is France, on 10th December 1948. So the declaration was proclaimed by the UN General Assembly, which was in Paris in France, on 10th December 1948. So the General Assembly Resolution 217A. In remembrance of every year, so 10th December is observed as the Human Rights Day and its regular observance commenced from 1950. It is also known as modern international Magna Carta of human rights. Its principles have been incorporated into the constitution of the most of the countries, so more than 185 countries. So UDHR, Universal Declaration of Human Rights, has been translated into more than 500 languages, and it is one of the most translated document in the world. So one of the greatest achievement of the United Nations is the creation of human rights law. So to advance this goal, UN established a Commission on Human Rights, so guided by Eleanor Roosevelt. A forceful leadership captured the world attention. Finally, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was adopted by the UN General Assembly in 1948, and it is a milestone document in the history of human rights. The declaration was proclaimed by the UN General Assembly in Paris, in France, on 10th December 1948. In remembrance of every year, 10th December is observed as the Human Rights Day. It is also known as Modern International Magna Carta of Human Rights, and its principles have been incorporated into the constitution of the most of the countries, so more than 185 countries' constitution. The principles of human rights, so Universal Declaration of Human Rights, was incorporated, was added. UDHR has been translated into more than 500 languages, and it is the most translated document in the world. Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So the Cyrus cylinder, 539 BC, so before Common Era. So Cyrus the Great, so the first king of ancient Persia. So Persia, so it includes the modern day Iran, Iraq countries. So Cyrus the Great, the first king of ancient Persia, so he freed the slaves and declared that all the people had the right to choose their own religion and established racial equality. So Cyrus the Great. So why he was considered the great means, so he was the first king of ancient Persia who freed the slaves. So in ancient time, so the slave is common. So the slavery is common, especially in Europe and some parts of Asia. So not only part of Asia, almost all part of the Asian countries. So he freed the slaves and declared that all the people had the right to choose their own religion, and he established racial equality. So these and other decrees. So decrees means so official order of the king. So official order of the king. So they were recorded on a backed clay. So backed clay means, so we can say that as a heated clay. So backed clay cylinder in the Akkadian language. So Akkadian, so the language, so that was spoken in ancient Persia. So Akkadian language in cuneiform script. So the writing method is called as cuneiform. So the Persian people. So actually their civilization is called as Mesopotamian civilization. So how we have Indus Valley civilization now. So like that, so the Persian people have their Mesopotamian civilization. So their civilization is called as Mesopotamian civilization. So their writing method is called as cuneiform script. So the degrees, so under the Cyrus order, were recorded on a backed clay cylinder in the Akkadian language in cuneiform script. It is translated into all 6 official languages of the United Nations. So United Nations have so 6 official languages, so which include English, French, Arabic, Chinese, like that. So it is translated into 6 official languages of the United Nations, and its provisions parallel the first 4 articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So and its provisions and the provisions which was in the Cyrus cylinder is parallel, is seen in the first 4 articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The human rights so are based on the values of dignity, justice, equality. So dignity means so the fact of being honored and respect. So the respect. So the right to life, the right to integrity, the prohibition of enforced law, slavery, and degrading punishment. So dignity. So the human rights are based on the values of dignity. So that is the right to life, the right to integrity. So treating all equally. Then the prohibition of enforced law, slavery, and the degrading punishment. Then justice. So the human rights are based on justice. That is the right to fair trial, proportional punishment to crime, the right not to be trialed more than once for the same crime. So the right to not to be anchored more than once for the same crime. Equality. So equality before law. So no discrimination on race, religion, gender, age, ability or disability, etc. So human rights are based on the values of dignity, justice, and equality. So dignity. Yeah, so a serious manner that deserves respect. Yeah, so that is being honored and respect. Yeah, justice. So all are equal before the law. Yeah, so proportional punishment to the crime. Yeah, so if anyone so do a crime means the punishment is same only. Yeah, so there is no differentiation, there is no discrimination in giving the punishment. Then equality. So all are equal before law. So no discrimination on race, religion, gender, age, etc. Yeah, so the human rights are based on these values only: dignity, justice, and equality. Some of the basic characteristics of human rights. So first, inherent. So that is they are not granted by any person or authority. So inherent. So it is their basic. It should be granted by any person or authority. So everybody has a own right. So the inherent. So the basic right. Then fundamental. So they are the basic rights because without them the life and the dignity of man will be meaningless. So the human rights, so the basic characteristics. So first it is inherent, it is basic. Then it is fundamental rights of all. Then inalienable. So that means they cannot be taken away from the individual. So inalienable. So the human rights, so they cannot be taken away from the individual. Then indivisible. That means they can't be denied even when other rights have already been enjoyed. Then universal. So the human rights are universal. They are applied irrespective of one's origin or status. Then they are enforceable without national border. So there is no border. So there is no boundary. So for establishing, for enforcing the human rights. Then interdependent. So they are interdependent because of the fulfillment or excess of one human right cannot be had without the realization of the other. So they are interdependent. So they depend on each other. So because the fulfillment or excess of one human right cannot be had without realization of the other. So if you want to enjoy your human rights means you should also give or you should also respect the others' rights. So that is, they say it as interdependent. So the basic characteristics of human rights, so they are inherent, fundamental, inalienable, indivisible, universal, then interdependent. So next, kinds of human rights. So the different kinds of human rights. So till now we discussed about so the what are human rights, then so the where do human rights come from. So the written precursors of human rights documents. So some of the important documents that were signed in world, especially in European and American countries. Then we discussed about the birth of United Nations. So after the Second World War, in order to protect the human rights and give importance to the human rights, United Nations was established on 24th October 1945. Then, so the greatest achievement of the United Nations was the creation of human rights law. So the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Then we discussed about the values. So the on what basis the human rights are signed. Then the basic characteristics of human rights. Now the kinds of human rights. So actually there are 30 articles incorporated in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So actually there are 30 articles, so which was incorporated, so which was in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So these rights are broadly classified into 5 primary categories. So actually there are 30 articles in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and they can be broadly classified into 5 primary categories, so as civil rights, political rights, social rights, economic rights, then cultural rights. So first, the civil rights. So the term civil rights refers to the basic rights afforded by laws of the government to every person. So the term civil right means so the basic rights so given by the government to every person through laws, so through act. So this is the right to be treated as an equal to anyone else. So it includes, so the civil rights includes the right to life, liberty, freedom from slavery, and arbitrary arrest. So arbitrary means so using power without restriction. So the term civil rights refers to the basic rights so afforded by the laws of the government to every person. So this is the right to be treated as an equal to everyone. It includes, so the civil rights means it includes the right to life, right to liberty, that is right to freedom, then freedom from slavery, then arbitrary arrest, so arresting a person without restriction, so using power without restriction. Then the political rights. So the political rights are exercised in the formation and administration of a government. So the civil and the political rights are directly related to modern democracy. They protect the individual from the misuse of political power and recognize every individual's right to participate in their country's political process. So political right means everyone, so everybody their own rights in participating in the political process. So there is no restriction in participating in the political process. So everyone was given the right. So it includes, so the political rights means it includes the freedom of expression and peaceful assembly, the right to take part in the government of one's country, the right to vote, and the freedom of speech and obtain information. So the political rights are exercised in the formation and administration of a government. So we have also the role in the formation of the government. So whenever you attain the age of 18 means you have the right to put vote now. Then you have the right to participate in the conferences. So the assembly, so the peaceful assembly in a peaceful way. So if there is any conference conducted by any political party means you have the right to participate in it. So this come under the political rights. So and also there's you have the freedom of speech and you have the right to get information. So these come under the political rights. So they are exercised in the formation and administration of a government. Then social rights. So it is necessary for an individual to fully participate in the society. So social right means, so it is necessary for an individual, so necessary for a person to fully, so to participate in the society. So social rights are those rights necessary for an adequate standard of living, including the right to education, health care, food, clothing, shelter, and social security. So social security includes the right to get education and health care, then food, so cloth, shelter, and social security. So these come under the social rights. Then the economic rights. So the right to participate in an economy that benefits all and to desirable work. So economic rights guarantee every person to have condition under which they are able to meet their needs. So economic rights guarantee every person to have condition under which they are able to meet their needs. So this includes the right to employment and fair wage. So wage means a salary. Then the reasonable limitation of working hard. So there should be a limitation in working hard. Then shelter, education, and adequate standard of living, and the right to property. So economic rights, the right to participate in an economy that benefits all and to a desirable work. So economic rights guarantee every person to have their conditions under which they are able to meet their needs. So meet their basic needs. So these rights include the right to employment and fair wage, the reasonable limitation of working hour, shelter, education, and adequate standard of living, and the right to property. Then the last one, cultural rights. So the primary category of Universal Declaration of Human Rights, cultural rights. So every country has its own culture. So even if you take India, so India is a multicultural country. So heterogeneous. So different culture is practiced. So the right to freedom of religion and to speak the language and to practice the cultural life of the community. So the right to share in scientific advancement and the right to the protection of moral and material interest. So they come under the cultural rights. So the right to freedom of religion and to speak the language and to practice the culture life of the community, the right to share in scientific advancement, and the right to the protection of moral and material interest. So the 30 articles incorporated in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights are classified into 5 prime categories. So 5 primary categories as civil rights, political rights, social rights, economic rights, then cultural rights. Human Rights Commission. So the Economic and Social Council, a principal organ of the United Nations, was empowered to set up a commission for the promotion of human rights. So the Economic and Social Council, ECOSOC, a principal organ of the United Nations, was given power to set up a commission for the promotion of human rights. So the national level and state level human rights commission were established in our country to ensure the protection of human rights. So national human rights commission and state human rights commission were established to ensure the protection of the human rights in our country. So the National Human Rights Commission. So the National Human Rights Commission of India was established on 12th October 1993. It is an independent statutory. So statutory means fixed by law and non-constitutional body. So non-constitutional means it was not mentioned in our constitution. So National Human Rights Commission, it is an independent body fixed by law and it is not mentioned in our constitution. Its headquarters is in New Delhi. So the National Human Rights Commission headquarters was in New Delhi. So NHRC is a multi-member body which consists of a chairperson and other members. So NHRC is a multi-member body, so consists of a chairperson and other members. The president appoints the chairperson and other members. So the president of India appoints the chairperson and other members of the National Human Rights Commission. So they are appointed for a term of 5 years or till the age of 70 years, whichever is earlier. So NHRC is a multi-member body, consists of chairperson and other members appointed by the President of India. So they are appointed for 5-year term or till the age of 70 years, so whichever is earlier. NHRC has 5 divisions. So Law Division, Investigation Division, Policy and Research and Program Division, Training Division and Administrative Division. So the National Human Rights Commission is responsible for the protection and promotion of human rights in India. So NHRC is responsible for the protection and promotion of human rights in India. So this is all over the country. Then the State Human Rights Commission. So in Tamil Nadu, the State Human Rights Commission. So as like all over country, so we have National Human Rights Commission. Then apart from that, so every state has its own State Human Rights Commission. So the State Human Rights Commission of Tamil Nadu was formed on 17th April 1997. It functions at the state level. So it consists of the 3 members, including a chairperson. So National Human Rights Commission so consists of a chairperson and other members. So we don't know, and they didn't mention about the number of the members. But in State Human Rights Commission, we have 3 members, including a chairperson. A State Human Rights Commission can inquire into the violation of human rights related to subjects covered under state list and concurrent list in the 7th schedule of the Indian Constitution. So Indian Constitution, so we have 12 schedules. So in that, in the 7th schedule, we have the subjects, so state subject and concurrent subject and central subject. So the department were classified as state, concurrent and central. So the State Human Rights Commission can inquire into the violation of human rights so related to the subject which was covered, which was mentioned in the state list and concurrent list. But if NHRC is already inquiring about the incident means, so the State Human Rights Commission has no role in that. Okay, so State Human Rights Commission. Then Human Rights Organization. So Human Rights Commission, we discussed about NHRC and SHRC. So many organizations around the world have taken their effort to protect human rights and for ending the human rights abuses. So these non-governmental organizations monitor the actions of the government and pressure them to act according to the human rights principle. So apart from some government organizations, so like NHRC and SHRC, there are some non-government organizations so which monitor the action of the government and pressures them to act according to human rights principle. So some of these organizations, so some of the non-governmental human organizations are Amnesty International. So Amnesty means, so the official statement that allows the people to go free, so who have been put in prison for crime against the state. So Amnesty International, then Children's Defense Fund, then Human Rights Watch. So these are the some non-governmental human rights organization. So apart from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the Human Rights Commission, so we have some non-governmental so human rights organization so to protect the rights of the human rights. So the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So we have discussed about now. So the basic rights, so the primary categories, so that is civil rights, political rights, social rights, economic rights, then cultural rights. So apart from that, so you are children. So do you have certain rights? So the children also have rights. First, who are children? You are a children. How can you say you are a child? So according to Article 1 of the United Nations Convention on the Right of the Children, 1989, a child means every human being below the age of 18 years. So according to United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, 1989, a child means every human being is below the age of 18 years. So you are below 18 years. So that's why you are a child. So the Convention on the Rights of the Child was proclaimed by UN on 20th November 1989. So the child is considered as an important national asset. So the child is considered as an important national property because the future of a nation depends on how its children mature and develop. So the future of a country so depend on its children only. So how they mature and how they develop. So the protection of children from all kind of exploitation and abuses has become the main objective of our country. So the protection of children from all kind of exploitation and abuses has become the main objective of our society. So there are laws in India so that protects the rights of the citizen. So the child is an important asset of your country. So the future of your country so depends on these children only. So they have to protect from all kind of exploitation and abuses, and it is the main objective of our society. So there are several laws so that protects the rights of the children. So what are those laws? First is the Right to Education Act. So Article 21A of the Constitution, Indian Constitution, provides that the state, that is the government, shall provide free and compulsory education to all the children aged 6 to 14 years. So Right to Education Act. So Article 21A, so that mentions about the right to education. So the Article 21A provides that the state shall provide free and compulsory education to all the children aged between 6 to 14 years. Then the Child Labour Act, so Prohibition and Regulation Act of 1986. So the Child Labour Act provides no child who has not completed 15 years of age can be employed. So no child so who has not completed 15 years of age can be employed. So if a child so who has completed 15 years can be employed. So this was mentioned in the Child Labour Act. Yes, it provides no child who has not completed 15 years of age can be employed. Then the Juvenile Justice Act 2000, so care and protection of children. So juvenile justice means so the Child Justice Act. So this act tries to protect children deprived of adequate care and to reform the children by adopting child-friendly approach. So this act, the Juvenile Justice Act 2000, so tries to protect the children so deprived of adequate care. So who have not given that much care, and to reform the children by adopting the child-friendly approach. So the Juvenile Justice Act of 2000. Then the POCSO Act, so the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. So POCSO Act 2012. So POCSO means Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. So regards the best interest of the child as being paramount. So paramount, so more important than anything else. So the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act regards the best interest of the child as being paramount importance in every state. So POCSO Act 2012. So it protects the children from sexual offences. Then child line, so 1098, so 1098. So you can notice this number in various public places, especially in while you are in travel or you are in any government offices, you can note this number, you can see this number. This is India's first 24 hours free emergency phone service for children in need of help. So special care is given for vulnerable child, so those affected by child labor, child marriage, and children affected by any abuse. So 1098, so 1098, so child line help number. So this is India's first 24 hours free emergency phone service for children so who need immediate help. So special care is given for vulnerable children, so those affected by the child labor, child marriage, and children affected by any abuse. Then the women rights, so the last one. So women and girls rights are human rights. So women are entitled to the full and equal enjoyment of all their human rights and to be free from all form of discrimination. So women's and girls rights are human rights. So human rights are women's rights, women rights are human rights. So women's were entitled to the full and equal enjoyment of all of their human rights and to be free from all forms of discrimination. So this is fundamental to achieve human rights, peace and security, and sustainable development. So sustainable development means, so the development includes all. So the Charter of the United Nations guarantee equal right to both women and men. Yes, women rights are human rights. So the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, so adopted in 1979 by the UN General Assembly, is described as the International Bill for the Rights of Women. So the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, so CEDAW, so CEDA, adopted in 1979 by the UN General Assembly, is described as the International Bill of Rights for Women. Then, in the year 1995, the 4th World Conference of Women, so held in Beijing, so the capital of China, developed a platform for the action to recognize women's rights and to improve women's livelihood worldwide, and follow up the meetings monitored progress towards meeting this goal. The International Development Fund for Women has worked since 1995 to implement the Beijing platform for action. Only when women and girls have equal rights, have as full access to their rights, will true equality exist. So only when women and girls have equal rights, then only there is equality. So without giving the equal rights to women and girls, we can't say that all are equal. Okay, so after the 4th World Conference of Women in 1995, United Nations Development Fund for Women has worked to implement the Beijing platform. So Beijing platform of action, that is, they work for the equality. So they work for giving the equal rights to women. Okay, so women rights are also very important, because women rights are human rights and human rights are women rights. So the last conclusion. So human rights are about equality and fairness for everyone, and it ensures that everyone is treated with dignity and respect. So human rights are about equality and fairness for everyone, and it makes sure that everyone is treated with dignity and respect. So the protection of human rights is everyone's responsibility. And understanding and respect for human rights provides the foundation for peace, harmony. So harmony means agreement of opinions, so security and freedom in our community. Okay, students, so today's class we have completed human rights and United Nations. So if you have any doubt in this lesson, so please contact me. Okay, students, take your book. So take page number 191. Textbook reading. So read the kinds of human rights. So civil rights, political rights, social rights, economic rights, then cultural rights. Then homework. So try to complete your book back exercise. So in your book, in page number 194, so they mention some of the legislations which was passed in our country and its provisions. So the Hindu Widow Remarriage Act, Hindu Marriage Act, Hindu Succession Act, like that. So they gave importance to women and also to the workers. So just to go through it. Okay, students, thank you. Have a nice day.